listening to the Fayetteville 411 podcast produced by the City of Fayetteville, where you will get information about city government and the programs and services they provide. You'll get topics of interest and an inside look into the various departments that help keep our city moving. I'm John Salling.
And I'm Sherry Kropp. Thanks for listening to the Fayetteville 411 podcast. This podcast is just one way that the city shares information with our residents. And today, John and I have invited other members of our marketing and communications team to talk about all the ways that you can stay engaged with your city. We have Lauren Beimer, Director of Marketing and Communications, and we also have David Scott, Public Information Specialist, joining us. Thanks for being on the Fayetteville 411.
Well, thanks for having us.
This topic today is near and dear to my heart because it's my department. So I'm glad that I'm able to highlight what the marketing and communications team does. But Lauren, we'll start with you. Some people might ask, why does city government need a marketing and communications department?
Well, again, thanks for having us on, Sherry. Our department runs this program, and I think it's fitting that we have the opportunity to kind of explain all that. As we've seen, in recent years, more and more, that information is key for people to understand what is going on, not just throughout the world, but specifically locally. And the city has hired a team of communication experts, that works within our department to ensure that the residents have every opportunity to be educated on where their tax dollars are spent throughout the city.
And what are some of the goals moving forward for the department?
So we want to ensure that we make every effort to inform and educate the residents within Fayetteville so that they know, like I previously said, where their tax dollars are spent, but also to inform and educate them on the various programs and opportunities within the city of Fayetteville, whether that's a micro grant for a small business that, the Economic and Community Development Department is doing, or a decision that the city council made about a new city code or project that's being planned. And so there's a plethora of different levels of information that need to be communicated and expressed so that everyone throughout the city understands, what's going on.
And people receive their information in various different ways. Some people like to read articles. Some are more visual. They might want to see videos or listen to audio podcasts like this one. And I know that the Marketing and Communications Department has all of those platforms available for people to get their information. So let's talk about some of the core components of marketing and communications.
We do it all.
We do it all.
We really do. So I think I'll start with the branding and identity first. Everybody that works for the City of Fayetteville is an ambassador for the City of Fayetteville, a brand ambassador, if you will. And so to ensure that a resident walking down the street knows, if they have a question about the City of Fayetteville, know that they're an employee, we strive to make sure that we all look the same. We've seen other major organizations and sports companies and everything that all you need to do is see a logo or you hear a tagline and you automatically associate it with a particular product, brand, service, and that's what we strive to do. So we, in recent years have gone through a whole branding identity shift. You still see it around the city, but the script, we're going away from that and we're moving to, the star and the more of the block letters. But we want to ensure that we have a strong brand so that when people see a product or a service, they know who's providing it and what their taxpayers are doing for that. Additionally, one of the core components that we cover is working with the media, pitching them stories, because a story is always better told by a independent third party than if it comes out from us. So if we in this office are able to reach out to some of the local news networks or publications and get them to cover a story for us, and they present accurate and objective facts, then I feel that that's a complete win, so that they know that we're providing as much transparency as possible for the city residents, and they're more likely to hear it and see it from one of the news organizations than necessarily one of our particular platforms. You kind of have to be switched on and paying attention to us to to really see what we're putting out versus if a network grabs hold of it and does it. And then finally, one of the things that I want to talk about before I hand it over to David to talk about a couple things is public records. We again want to ensure transparency, and so one of the opportunities for that is being able to submit a public records request, and whether that's how much does a specific employee make, or if there was a 911 call that people wanted to see. And as a matter of fact, we even had a gentleman reach out to us and look for some traffic footage for an insurance claim that he was trying to make and needed a little more information. And so he stopped me on the street and asked me how he would go about doing that. And I pointed him to Next Request, which is how he would file for a public records request. And so, that's just, a few examples of what we do at the, in my particular lane within the department. But there's so much more that we do, and I don't want to take up all your time. So I want to actually pass it over to David and let him talk about a couple things, if that's okay with you guys.
Yeah, so I'm David Scott. I oversee our social media platforms with the City of Fayetteville. Social media is such an essential tool for government to use because it's a way for us to timely give our residents information and build a community. So, and it also humanizes the city because we're able to talk to people on social media and we're able to engage. We're always looking for ways to engage with our residents, and social media is one platform to do that. So that's one way for us to share the narrative and the story of Fayetteville itself, to go along with branding and our identity.
And I think with having the multiple social media platforms, it's a way for us to reach various demographics. I'm not a tweeter. I don't use Twitter, but, a lot of the young people do. So I know that we have Twitter account. We're on Facebook. Name some of the platforms.
Yeah, so you can find the City of Fayetteville on Facebook, Twitter, formerly known as Twitter. It's now called X.
Okay, see, I don't know. I'm not a tweeter.
Instagram, YouTube is one of our platforms where Faith TV is heavily involved in as well. And then we also have our city departments that has their own social media platforms, such as the police department and the Fayetteville Fire Department, Parks and Rec, where they're sharing activities and updated information. One of our most popular departments is the Fayetteville Department, the Fayetteville Police Department, and Fayetteville Fire Department. And when we're talking about those demographics, we're trying to make sure we're reaching all of our residents, and so we have to pick and choose the content that we try to put on the different platforms. So you may catch LinkedIn that may be more about professional opportunities, or and then Facebook's more about community building.
And the social media platforms are so important because you find that that's where most people are getting their news from these days.
Yeah.
A lot of people have cut the cord. They don't watch TV. They don't, that's where they get their information from.
Absolutely. And social media is it's a way for us to be where the people are. That's why social media is so important. And I will highlight about the web page. So one way that we always try to guide people through social media is to our web pages. The website, that's FayetteVilleNC.gov. So when we're using our social media platforms, we always want to have put at least a call to action to direct them to our web page, so where we put all of our services and programs on there, what we're doing, guiding them to
the information that they're looking for.
Yes.
And that's a great segue into the Ask Faye bot that they have on the web page now, which makes it easier for people to find information. They can just go in and type in questions.
Yeah, which we actually recently launched that, probably within the last month or so. And there, it's not 100% perfect. We're still ironing out some bugs and trying to get that working right. But yeah, no, that's a great feature. As many people know, web pages is where the bulk of the information feels. So where the bulk of the information live. So if you're looking for a little more detailed answer than what social media can provide you, like David said, FayetteVilleNC.gov is maybe where you need to go.
Yeah, we're always trying to direct them to that webpage.
And that also ties back to a previous podcast that we've did last month as well, talking about Ask Faye as another source that people can go for some of their information. Might be one of those previous episodes that we've done. And speaking of the podcast, that is another way that we get the message out to the public from our department here, is podcasts like this one and other work from Faye TV. Sherry, tell me some about how we bring these about.
Okay, so the podcast is fairly new. We've had it a little over a year now, and we were just trying to think of all the ways that people get their information, and we did not have a podcast, and we thought, hey, that'd be a great idea to start producing the podcast. So we came up with the Fayetteville 411, and now we have the fire department, which also has a podcast. The Fayetteville Fire Podcast is what it's called, and they're getting great traction with that. But some of the content that we produce, some of the video content that we produce, we also post those on our podcast channels. You would need to subscribe to Radio Fayetteville on your favorite streaming platforms. We're on just about all of them. But that's another way that we get information out to our residents in addition to, our video content and things like that.
So, in addition to the podcast, I'm looking at the two of you across the table from me. You're the two that run Faye TV too, correct?
Yes, Faye TV is the other aspect of what we do for the city of Fayetteville here. And whether it's from our city updates that Sherry's been running for a while here, Faye and 5, our news updates, it's all these different avenues that we put together on Spectrum 7 to help educate the public about services the city provides, interesting stories that we find behind how the city provides those services.
And Faye TV really is so much more than just Spectrum Cable Channel 7, though. When we talk about Faye TV, we're talking about it being live streamed on the city's webpage, and council meetings, we broadcast those live on Spectrum Cable Channel 7, but we also replay those on YouTube so people can watch it on demand if they, are not tuning in on Channel 7. We also upload them to our streaming platform. People can get access to the information there. So most of the content that we produce, you can find it just about anywhere. David will sometimes post some of our video content on social media if it's appropriate. Sometimes you don't want to have a 30-minute show on Facebook, but if it's a smaller snippet, he'll usually put that on there. But we produced, like you said, John, video content, city update. We broadcast the council meetings. If departments has anything special going on, usually we'll highlight that. Sometimes we highlight employees, but just all kinds of content.
And the great thing is your boss has ton of good ideas for you guys to explore, and we always discuss. So
that is right.
You never know what the next evolution of Faye TV is going to be.
That's right, because someone asked how we come up with our content, and that is a good point, Lauren. We sit down as a marketing and communications team. We talk about what's happening with all of the departments. It might be, some update with code enforcement. It might be the fast transit center, getting new bus branding, things like that. And then, we try to find things that are a little bit lighthearted as well, and, things that will humanize the city employees, especially the ones that are on the front lines and are face-to-face with the customers, and they deal with the customers, every day. And so we like to highlight them and give some backstory about what they do, and we just have all kinds of content.
Yeah, from what you've told me in the past and what I've experienced is the humanization and the day in the life videos. Those are the ones that really ring true and gain the most traction and people really enjoy.
And we also try to share a lot of information. I mean, the city has so much going on within the various departments. Parks and Recreation comes to mind. They have a lot of activities at the various recreation centers, the parks, the trails, and different things that are going on. And because we're in a transit community with people coming in all the time, they might not have all of that information. So we want to make sure that we get that information out to them.
You mentioned Parks and Rec. I'm actually thinking of public services with all the activity that they have going on, whether it's flood mitigation information that we're trying to put out. We had Matthew and Florence come through, and they've done some phenomenal flood mitigation work in in recent months and in the past couple of years. But also, we all get frustrated, but there's a lot of construction going on, and whether it's street improvements, and we don't always get to see it because this is a transient community. I've had the fortunate, ability to be here for the last 20 plus years, but you constantly see construction around the city of Fayetteville, which, like I said, is frustrating, but it's also a good sign that we continually maintain our roads and our streets and make Fayetteville the best place that we possibly can.
Which goes back to the point that there's so much information that we need to get out. And that is our purpose of the Marketing and Communications Department, to make sure that is done.
I want to share one way of also collecting the information is community relations. So we need to be where the people are, which is through social media and all of our other platforms, but actually being in the community. So one way that we distribute information is we gather departments and participate in stuff like the Dogwood Festival or some other community events. We partner with our community partners to be able to distribute that information as well.
I think a really good example of that is when you actually planned the All-America City party.
Yeah, the All-American City Party celebration. That was at Festival Park, and so we kind of got our departments together and just put on a party, a block party for our residents to celebrate winning the All-American City Award.
Yeah, we
for 2023.
You did a great job. It was a bunch of departments together, a lot of giveaways. We had the woodpeckers out there for a little while.
Yeah, and gave away free ice cream.
Always a winner right there. So what other avenues do we have to get our messages out to our residents? What kind of external facing?
Well, internal and external facing could be the manager's message. We always give an update on what's going on in the city every week. That can be from events to ordinance changes or what the city departments are up to. And residents can go to FayettevilleNC.gov on the homepage and look at the top and subscribe to this e-newsletter from the manager's office.
And what kind of stuff is included in there?
Well, so Mr. Hewitt, he includes a lot of events and activities that are taking place in downtown Fayetteville and in the area, really. But in addition to that, your guys' Fay TV updates are included in that, and we have some other just general graphics, whether we're helping out the recruitment for police and fire, which we're always striving to fill those ranks, or just other information that we feel is important for the residents of Fayetteville, so that they know what's going on.
And they can look for this manager's e-newsletter every Friday.
And besides all of our external facing, we also have some internal messages as well. We've got an organization of close to 2,000 employees. There's a lot of people to know. What do we have going that way?
Yeah, I think it's important to note that the city of Fayetteville strives to be an employer of choice, and we want people to want to work for the city of Fayetteville and want to stay with the city of Fayetteville. And one of the ways that we show our appreciation is something we call Frontline. It's our internal newsletter. It goes out once a month, usually the last Wednesday of the month, and we like to do a variety of things, whether it's highlighting achievements of departments, highlighting achievements of individuals, or just making sure that all the employees know what is going on throughout the city, what their employee to their left and their right are doing and accomplishing. And when you do that, it really speaks to the level of professionalism that is around you and that you work with. And that's one effort that we went back and really revamped and made an effort to put at the top of priority list and make sure that people feel appreciated, so that they know that we're proud of the work that they do.
Yeah, the city employees are the heart and souls of Fayetteville to keep it moving forward. So it's always nice to see our peers' stories and their achievements.
Just thinking about all the stuff we do is making me tired. We stay busy. Our department really stays busy. But I think all of us in the marketing and communications department, we love what we do and do it to the best of our ability. And it's coming to the close of the show, so I wanted to recap one more time all the various ways that people can get information, that they can get in contact with us. We talked about social media. What are those platforms again, David?
We have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have Instagram, we have LinkedIn, YouTube.
Okay. We have Fay TV, which is Spectrum Cable Channel 7. It's also live stream on the city's webpage at FayettevilleNC.gov, or you can go to faytv.net. And then, of course, with our podcast on Radio Fayetteville, that's the Radio Fayetteville channel. You can subscribe to that on your favorite streaming platforms. We have the manager's message that you can subscribe to by visiting the city's webpage at FayettevilleNC.gov. And I think I covered it all. Did I? Did I miss anything?
And Frontline for our own employees here. And with that, that's a wrap for this episode of the Fayetteville 411. The Fayetteville 411 is one of several podcasts that the city produces for our podcast channel, Radio Fayetteville, as we provide timely and informative updates every week on a variety of topics related to the city of Fayetteville. Be sure to subscribe to Radio Fayetteville on Apple iTunes, the iTunes Podcast app, as well as the Google Play Music Podcast portal.
You can also listen to every podcast that Radio Fayetteville has to offer by downloading the Fay TV streaming app, available on Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, and Amazon Fire TV. You can view all of our video content by visiting faytv.net. And to get information about city services, go to our webpage at fayettevillennc.gov. I want to thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate being here.